Hi everyone, Zach here, and welcome to tutorial 3 in this series on creating a video settings menu. In this video, we'll be starting on our functionality of the menu itself. This series has been brought to you by my Patreon sponsors like Random Number Generator. That said, fire up your project and let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back, and in this video for this series on setting up our settings menu, we're going to continue with where we left off and doing our code for how to get this all to work. So if we go over to our settings screen and go into our graph, let's go to our initialize video settings. We're going to unpin our initialize video settings themselves, and I just realized it has some bad naming convention there, but whatever. We're gonna start here first with get game user settings. We're gonna use this node a lot, and unfortunately, unless I've updated it, we can't take this and promote the return value to a variable. So we're gonna have to use this node a lot. All right, the first thing we're gonna do off this return value is we're gonna load our settings. And we want to force this reload. So every time that we open up our menu, we're going to go through this process. From the same return node, again, not putting reroutes in, do a validate settings. And technically, this validate settings is optional, but as you can see in the tooltip there, validates and resets bad user settings to default. Deletes stale user settings files if necessary. So this is just a useful feature to have in. So we have some required, the first two nodes, to get details and to fix bad details. It's also useful when the resolution for some reason on a screen is bad. That said, it doesn't fully work when we test this in the editor. You will have to fully see it, either package it or do a standalone game to get it to work, but that's just a side note. All right, now we're going to do this function we created last time. There we go. We want to get our screen type, so if we're full screen or not. So we're going to take this node again. Like I said, we're going to see this node a lot. Required. All right. So we're going to get our user settings. From here, we are going to get full screen mode, and we're going to do a return off of this, and we're going to switch off that return. Okay, so I'm just going to pause there for a moment to grab these three nodes. We're going to clasp them down to a function, and this function will be set screen type options. There we go. Just pop that open for a moment. In here, we're going to go back to this window for a minute. We're going to select that combo box at the top there, and this will be our screen mode options. We'll do the other combo boxes as we need to. So grab your screen mode options there, get them, and we're going to do set selected option. Actually, go back to the designer. I lied to you for a moment. Go back to the designer while we have our screen mode options selected. What I want to do is I want to actually start filling this in with some useful information. So let's go to our content, and under our default options, let's hit the plus sign twice. We know we have full screen as an option, and we know we'll have windowed as an option. There we go. That way we don't need to set our options in our graph. We just need to set our selected option. All right, so from our option, we're going to do promote to a local variable, and this will just be text local. All right, let's just drop these under here. Now, we don't need this just yet. The reason we did this is so I can have that local variable ready to go. If you haven't noticed, I don't like hitting the plus sign over here. I like dragging off and promoting the variable. The reason I like doing that is I know I'm going to have the correct type then. So we just need two of these, and one will be full screen on full screen, and on windowed we will do windowed. All right, I'm gonna mention now that what I'm going to do is I'm gonna have the windowed full screen as a windowed option. So I'm gonna plug it into there. Some people will do it as a full screen option. That's fine either way. So I'm gonna have a direct connection between my full screen and my set selected option. I'm going to grab all of this again, and I'm going to duplicate it down here. I'm going to plug it into there, and then I'm just going to grab these 3 nodes I just copied, and I'm going to collapse this down to a new function called windowed sub options. And my Windows sub options, well, I'll continue on from them into my selected options there. So in here, what we'll do is, well, we'll go back to our event graph, or sorry, our designer for a moment, and we'll grab this drop down box, and this will be our, sorry about that, this will be our windowed options. If you're doing it on the full screen version, this would be your full screen options, I guess. Let's grab this. We're literally going to do what we just did a second ago. Set selected option, which means we're going to go back in a moment and set our options for this. And we're going to do a local variable of text local. There we go. And just like before, we only need it for 2 of them. We only need it for windowed full screen and for windowed. So our options will be windowed full screen and windowed. All right, grab those and just go ahead and plug everything in, put a return in. Well, that function is done. Let's go back to this one and put our return in here as well. All right. In our designer, with our windowed options drop down selected, let's add in our types. So I'm just going back to the designer for a second. Our first one would be windowed full screen and windowed. Okay, so I'm just going to copy that. And windowed. All right, there we go. That takes care of that one. Now, because I'm getting paranoid, I want to go to my graph, and we're going to change up what we're doing a bit. We're going to focus on getting this widget to open and close so we can test what we have so far and make sure everything is loading correctly. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to just grab off of this, and I'm going to type in listen for input action. In fact, we're going to move everything down because we're probably going to need some space in a bit. We're going to have consumed. I'm just going to go into my project settings. Open settings menu is what we want to listen for. Off callback. And off callback, we're going to do a custom event. And this will be open menu pressed. And we're going to create a quick variable in here called player controller ref. This will be a BP player controller. We will have this so that we can edit and expose on spawn. And now we're going to go over to our player controller real quick. Pop that open. Go to the event graph. We don't need these, get rid of them. We're going to do open settings menu. On pressed, we will create widget. This widget will be our BP settings screen. Uh-oh. Go back and compile if you haven't. Come back here. Refresh. There we go. Player controller ref. Put a reference to self in. Return value. We are going to promote this to a variable. So this will be a settings screen reference. We are going to add to viewport. And then we're going to have a custom event, close widget. We're going to have some other things we're going to do up here in a minute. In fact, actually, let's do this before I forget. Show mouse cursor. True. Set input Game and UI. It must be game and UI for this to work. Our widget in focus will be our setting screen. We're gonna lock. Always lock. And self. There we go. All right. Let's grab that set cursor there. We're gonna hide the cursor again. We are going to set input game mode only. Get a reference to self for the player controller. We are going to take our widget and we're going to remove from parent. So we can now open and close our widget. Well, technically we can open it. We can't close it yet. We need to go back to our settings screen, and on here, let's get our reference to our player controller. We're going to call up our close widget. So if you're not familiar with what we're just doing here right now, this node, this listen for input actions, tells the widget to listen if you have it in game and UI mode here for key presses. For the key presses that we use in our action mappings, for example. We're telling it to listen in particular for this open settings menu. So in this case, when the player hits P, if this is active and the player hits P, then we tell them to close the menu. So if I hit play now and I hit P, my menu pops up. I can scroll through it. You can see that this actually does stuff. It starts at medium with nothing filled in because it hasn't been initialized, which is fine. But we have these showing up. There's windowed, windowed. So that's working fine. Now, if I hit P again, it closes the window. So this node is what gives me that ability. All right. So we've seen that it's loading up things correctly. Let's continue on with the next part of this. And this is, again, I apologize, going to be a bit tedious. So let's just walk through this for a second. So I'll grab this one and keep bringing this down, because this is going to, as I said, get a bit messy. Let's move these to the left a bit, sorry, to the right. This sets up buttons and arrays used to control settings. So we've just set everything up that we need. Sorry, I like having my comments a bit more even than that. Let's take this one here. This gets screen mode, full versus windowed. Okay, so now that we have that just done, let's get our display resolutions. And this one's going to be a bit tricky. So we're actually just going to start by creating the function instead of doing it the fun way I like doing it. This is get display resolution options. All right, so we're gonna have to use that node I mentioned. We're gonna see a lot of get game user settings. Notice I haven't pinned it into there. There's a reason for this. We're gonna have to set some stuff up, and then we're gonna clear that stuff at the start. Get full screen mode. So we're gonna get what sort of mode we're in. We're gonna switch. You know what? We're gonna change something, and as the reason it's gone real slow right here. Not able to tell because I've edited out my pauses, is I was thinking about these three settings. Well, if we're looking at resolution, the resolutions are going to work for full screen. Windowed are going to be probably the same that work for full screen, and they're probably not going to work for windowed the same way. So we're going to go back, actually. Let's go into here. And what we're going to do is we're first going to delete that. We're going to paste, actually, what we're going to do is we're going to Control W this up here. We're going to delete this version. Let's plug that into there. Put another reroute in, just so it's a bit easier to look at. Take from there, plug that into that one, plug that into that. Unselect the windowed full screen and put that into the full screen settings. And then in here, we're going to do this as, drag that up to there. This will now become full screen. Change that windowed one to the windowed full screen, and this will be windowed full screen. Go back to the editor here for a moment. And we're going to do, it's going to be called full screen options now. For those of you who heard what I said earlier, we don't worry about the name of the thing, just the display of text. Full screen type. And our options now are full screened, or full screen, and windowed full screen. All right, we'll take care of some other stuff on appearances and disappearances of that options later on, but I think this just makes a lot more sense now that I'm thinking about what we'll be doing in here. So we can close those out. Off our full screen, we're gonna do get supported full screen resolutions. All right, we're gonna plug the windowed full screen into that as well. And then we're gonna do a for each loop off the array of the resolution types. So this is returning, let's just look at this. This is returning a XY structure, so 2 integers. And what we're gonna do with that, actually we are gonna break this. Is we are going to pass that information as the options. So let me just find my resolution options and rename this as resolution options. Grab resolution options, get it, add options. All right, so let's plug that into the loop body there. I just move this out a little bit, and what we're going to add as an option is an append. We're going to need 3 pens in here. We're going to do X into the A there and Y into the C. And in the B, we're going to do space, X, space. There we go. So it comes through, it gives these 2 values, an X and Y value, and we're just putting those in as 1080 by whatever. All right, so that's the first set of these. We're going to do a return node here. The second set, we can literally take all of this, duplicate it down here. We come from the windowed, and we're going to get convenient. There it is. Get convenient windowed resolutions. Plug that into there, and plug, if I can pull off the array into the array node there, so that we're setting our resolution options based on whatever mode we're in. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we had to clear some stuff. So we're going to take this resolution options node here, and we're going to pull off of here and do clear options. Otherwise, what happens is that it stores the options, and it will add the same options over and over and over again. You need this at the start. So clear options, or it will re-add the same options. So you'll have 1080 by, whatever, 4 or 5 times. We're going to determine if full screen or windowed. And then these 2 are the easy bits. Get full screen options. Get windowed options. All right, let's go back to our event graph. That was get our display resolution options. So get display resolution options. Really simple comment there, I guess. Kind of a no crud Sherlock thing. Okay, next comes a part I'm going to apologize before we even start doing it. It is one of the more tedious elements of this, and let's just hit play for a second. Let's just open up the menu. Notice that we have our options. This is all working. We haven't done the VSync part, actually. We need to do the VSync part. Notice we're locked in the screen. But notice what hasn't changed are these. It still says medium. It still has our default text. So we need to actually change that. And to do so, we have something really, really tedious to do. We have to set the values for each of those items. So to do that, let's go back to our settings selector, to this widget. let's add one more function in. And this will be set value. So if we take our value here and we set it, take the input pin, put it into the input node, and then grab our set value text and put that there. And then we have a return node. This is really simple. So we can edit our settings value. If we edit it, then we edit the text as well. And then we continue on with whatever we were doing. Okay, so let's just Control S save everything. Like I said, this is going to be really tedious. We're going to start with a new function. And this will be our get default video settings. All right, I'm going to put a sequence node in. There's my sequence node. And I'm going to give it 10. Yeah, you heard me correctly. Nodes or pins. Oops, sorry, that's 11 there now. Remove execution pin. I have 10, 0 through 9. So, fortunately, this is all relatively simple. The first one is different, but 1 through 9, I say that, I'm just double checking. 1 through 7 are all pretty much the same. So, let's just do, we'll do 0 together. We'll do 1 together, and then I'll set you off to do the 1 through 7s. We'll come back and do 8 together. So, sorry, 8 and 9 together. First, we'll get game settings. From our game settings, again, we're going to see this node a lot today. We're going to do a branch. All right. Now, what we are doing here is we are seeing if 1 through 7 have been edited. If they have been, then we are going to set this differently. If they haven't been, then we're going to set this based on everything else. Again, actually, I shouldn't hit play. Again, a way to think about this is we go to this screen, go to our settings menu here, go to our engine scalability. We have really another option here called custom, because I can change this and it changes all of them. I can change this, changes all of them, change this, changes all of them, etc. However, I can individually change various ones of these as I see fit. And that is another mode. That's a custom mode. So what we're checking for is, has the overall quality button been pressed, or have individual ones been pressed, and are we in a custom mode? So that's what this is. That's all this check is going to be doing. What we're going to check is something off this return value called get overall scalability level. And you can see on that tooltip there, it can return a -1 if the settings are custom. So if a player comes in and does that, we have definitely custom settings. Just put that back to Epic now. So that will return a -1. So if this is not equal to a -1, then we know it's something the player has changed the overall settings. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get our overall quality. There we go. And we are going to set value. And we're going to set value based on whatever this is. There we go. We're going to duplicate this node, by the way, down here because we needed this here. So if it is not equal to -1, then whatever value in here is valid, and we can pass that out. If it is -1, then it's a custom setting. If we go in here, 4 for our value is custom. So we'll just put a value of 4 in, and we leave it as is. We finish up there. Now, this is the part that's going to become repetitive, and you're going to learn it real quick. From this node, drag out and type set overall scalability. Plug that into the set value there. And off of this return value that we've already used twice, once in this not equal to -1 and then once in the setting value, pass that into the value there. So this is overall quality. This is the unique one, but in even this uniqueness, you're going to see a pattern that's going to emerge for almost all the others. So let's grab this node here, So the first part of the pattern is you're going to start with this node. You're going to use this node on all of these. All 10 entries are going to have this node. Now, again, 1 through, I'm pretty sure it's 7. Yeah, 1 through 7, because 7 should be anti-aliasing. You know what? I can check. You know how I can check? Go here. Yep, it's 7, anti-aliasing. So 1 through 7 will have this pattern. You start with this node. You pull off of here. And you know what we're going to do? I'm going to take this window. I'm just going to have it on the side so I can see which versions I'm looking at. So if I go back to this window, we're going to pull off of here. It's view distance first. We're going to get view distance quality. Get overall scalability. I wonder what else we have in here. Maybe we have get texture. Oh, hey, look, we have get texture. Maybe foliage is in here as well. Get foliage quality. You can see where I'm going with this, can't you? Now, if you notice when I did foliage, it also gave me the setter as well. Well, you've guessed it. Grab off of here. Set view distance quality. Hey, look. That same node that's up there. Except for its view distance instead of overall quality. So, we're going to break that for a minute. We're going to grab this set value node. We're going to pass that into there, pass that into there. And we're going to find, what is this one? Our view distance. I made so many jokes, I forgot which one it was. Grab our view distance. That's our target. Plug that into there. And each of those goes into there. That goes into our one node, or our one execution node. And this is our view distance. All right. So the way this works is then we have textures, shadows, foliage, visual effects, post-processing, anti-aliasing at 7. So you repeat this entire process for each of them. And I'm going to show it to you just one more time, and then I'm going to pause the video and we can come back once you've done them. We're going to get our settings. This one will be our texture. So we want to get texture quality. We want to set texture quality. We want to break that. We want to grab the set value. Plug the execute pins into each other. Don't miss like I just did. There we go. Value goes into both of those. Hey, look. That's all done. That was pretty simple. All right? Well, if you're paying attention, I've made a mistake. This is not right. In fact, we hit compile. There's the error. So, it's textures. We need our textures quality setting widget thingy. All right. So, now that I've done that, go ahead and do 3 through 7. I'm going to pause the video once I've moved this. Why can't I move this? Really? I'm going to pause the video here and come back once I have finished out my my 3 through 7. All right, welcome back. You should have something that looks kind of like this. We have the same nodes over and over again. Actually, they're technically not the same. We go from, anti-aliasing to post-processing to foliage to shadow settings. They actually are different, but the pattern of nodes that we're using is the same over and over again. Now we have these last two. Well, these last two are our VSync and our screen resolutions. So they start the same way. We're going to use the get user settings from here. We are just going to get is VSync enabled. And let's go back here for a moment. Let's just grab that VSync button. We're going to call this our VSync checkbox. Grab our VSync checkbox. And we are going to set is checked. Plug that into there. Plug the executes into each other. I have been missing a lot today with that. Highlight that. Comment. Get VSync status. Alright, grab this get game user settings node again. And we're going to do get screen resolution. We are going to break this. This is going to look real familiar in a moment. Let's go here for a moment. Grab that oh, we've already set that one. I don't know why I thought we had to name that. Just get it then. Sorry about that. Set selected option. And what we're going to do is, just like we did before, we're going to append. We're going to have 3 BW space X space. It has to be the same as what you had earlier, by the way. Otherwise, this will not work. Plug that in down there. There we go. Actually, we can line it up better. Actually, those will line up better. There we go. Okay. We're going to pull from here, and we're going to do set screen resolution. We're going to unpin that execute that goes into there. Line that a little bit better. Pin that into there. And our resolution will come from here as well. There we go. And this gets screen resolution. So if we pin these last 2 ones in, and hit play, hit P there. Oh, you know what? I skipped a step. So if we pin those in, we can go back to our event graph and then call this up. We're actually done with all the things we need to do to get our window to start showing correct details. So this is get system settings. Also, this auto saves those settings. This isn't a save like a normal save. This is an auto save. Remember over here we have this, the user settings files. This auto saves a user settings file. And so if we hit play now, well, we have our resolutions. For some reason, it's not setting up these parts. That's interesting. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a little bit of debugging. We're going to pop that open. And we're going to make sure I haven't screwed something up in here. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to do this from here. We're going to do a breakpoint here. Hit play. There we go. This should be true. It should not be equal to -1. There we go. Should be at 3. Yep. Go here. Set value to 3. Epic. Should also be 3, by the way. Yeah, 3. Epic, hit resume. Well, it's saying it's doing it. Why is it not actually doing it? There is a good question for you. Go back here for a moment. Get rid of that breakpoint. Okay, so the mistake is really obvious. I should have seen when we were going through the breakpoint. We've put the wrong function in. That's all. We want the set value text, not the select text. So it's set value text, which has the select text in it, and then has the actual updating of the text. So if we hit play now, hit P, here we go. Epic, 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 epic. Now notice we can change these. It doesn't change this one yet. They don't actually fully work, but we're getting our options. We're getting everything else showing up there. So, hey, we've made pretty good headway. We're going to pause here and then continue on with setting up our functions to make this something that's usable. All right, that said, I want to give a shout out to my Patreon sponsors who have kept this channel alive and have given me the time and space to work on the projects I want to work on and to teach what I want to teach. If you want to help the channel out, consider becoming a Patreon supporter. You get behind the scenes access, early recordings, access to project files, and the ability to chat with me on various topics of your choosing related to UE4. That said, if you liked this video, go ahead and hit that like button. I mean, even if you didn't like it, help me out and hit that like button. Or subscribe to this channel. Or, as I mentioned, consider becoming a supporter on Patreon. That said, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And I hope that you have a wonderful day.